Hello everyone, hi, welcome to today's video where I am going to be talking about why we no longer live in Germany. If you've been following me for a while, you probably know that I'm an American, and my husband is German, and we used to live in Germany and we just moved to the States. And yeah, I just want to give some clarification as to why that is. The first reason why I didn't want to live in Germany anymore, and actually kind of why my husband didn't want to live there anymore either, is because it just never felt like home. My husband actually grew up in Germany, he's from there, and he actually never felt like it was home to him. He always felt like he didn't really belong there. And I also always feel that way when I'm there. I never felt like I really fit in. I never found my place in society. It just never felt right. And there's not really any better way to explain that because it's just a feeling. There's no like rationality to it, if that makes sense. And I don't mean this in a sense of like nothing was familiar, like it's not where like my hometown is or something. I don't mean like that at all. I just mean like no matter what, we lived there together for like 6 years. I think I lived there for about 6 years, maybe even more than that. And I just, in all that time, I still didn't feel like it was my place. I didn't feel like it was my home. Walking down the street, it just didn't feel right. Going into the stores there, it didn't feel right. And you'd think by that point, like after that many years being there, if it was right, then I would feel that way. And it's not because I didn't know the language, like I speak German, all of these things. And yeah, I just couldn't fit in there. Leading off of that, it was also really socially difficult for me. I had a really, really hard time making friends and finding my place with peers. Like even at work or in my language courses, I could just never find people that I really gelled with, and it just never really worked. It was always sort of like just not quite right. I don't know how to explain it really better than that. I think that I am a pretty loud and opinionated person. And in Germany, people are very reserved and tend to sort of keep more to themselves. And so I think that I was just sort of always, I always stick out a little bit there. I also think that people tend to really stay in their little groups. Like people sort of are cliquey. And I don't really mean that in a bad way. Like it's totally fine if you find a group of friends and you just stick to that group of friends because you feel good with those people. That's totally understandable. But it meant that then it was really hard for me to find my way into groups of people because they're already made. And I've spoken to a lot of expats, a lot of people who moved to Germany, and I have found that everyone has the same opinion as me about this, except for the people who went to university there or who went there through a job that they got basically really lucky with, and their university group, like their class group, their degree group, or the group of people at their job, they just happened to get along with really well because they were all going there at the same time. So people hadn't already formed groups. I don't know if I'm explaining that well enough, but that's the only time I've ever heard an expat say they really found their place in German society and really fit in there and made a lot of friends. Otherwise, I know a lot of people like myself who actually weren't successful living in Germany and moved to another country because they couldn't find their way there and it just didn't work for them. Another reason why we decided we don't want to live in Germany is because we just had a baby, and obviously then you're thinking a lot about what school is like and what it's going to be like for your kid growing up, and we just kept finding reasons and kept finding things that we didn't like about the way that children were raised and the routes that kids had to take through school there. The system is pretty rigid in German schools, and already when you're pretty young, you have to make choices about what your future is going to look like, what kind of school you want to go to, that then propels you to go to university or not go to university, or do a trade or not do a trade. And I just can't imagine to be like 11 or 12 years old and have to be sitting with my teacher and talking about if I'm capable of making it to university. That just seems totally crazy to me. And I know that a lot of people who are German and went through the system really struggled with feeling like they were either pressured to make a certain choice, or they didn't know how to make a choice, or they made the wrong choice, and that it was just incredibly stressful and sort of unfair. And I'm not trying to say that I think the system in the United States is so much better or something, because I think we all know that the United States is very flawed, just like a lot of countries are. And especially when it comes to school, the United States is definitely flawed. But I think that here you have a lot more choice. And I think that it makes it easier to decide what you want to do or not what you want to do. And you're not put into a box in the way that you are in Germany. You're really put into a box there. And once you're put into that box, it's really hard to get out and go into another box. And I think that's the problem that we're having. We're thinking about our kid and what's best for our child. And I think we just kept coming back to the fact that we didn't want our kid to feel like there wasn't the opportunities that our child deserves, basically. Another reason why we left Germany is just really basic reason, and it's just because I just don't have any family there. And I found it really, really difficult all these years not being able to basically see my mom or dad, my sisters, my friends, all these people whenever I wanted to, not being able to call them at any time of day because you're across the world, and so there's a huge time difference. And it just started really weighing on me, and it weighed on me for a long time throughout all the years that we lived there, but I just sort of pushed away that feeling, and I would go back and visit, and I'd visit for multiple months at a time to try to make it feel like as if I was here, but I was never really here. I always had to go back to Germany, and I always dreaded having to go back, leaving my family and friends and the people I loved, knowing I wouldn't be able to see them and interact with them whenever I wanted to. And then once I had a baby, the idea of my baby not being around my family all the time, or not having my family available to me and my child, it was just unacceptable to me, basically. The idea that I wouldn't be able to see my kid with grandparents and aunts and friends and all this stuff, it hurt in my heart, the idea of that, and that just wasn't going to happen for me. And yeah, the idea of that just never felt right. The other thing is that when my husband and I first settled in Germany, the idea was that we were going to go to school and be there for a couple of years and then slowly make our way to the States or to some other country, basically. And then we just kind of got stuck. Like, we got into this rut of being there, and then we didn't have the money to leave, or we didn't feel like we could leave. And then there was COVID, and so obviously then we were stuck because of COVID. And it just took, we just kept extending the amount of time that we were there for, and we ended up being there for a lot longer than we ever planned to be. We never planned on Germany being the place that we were going to settle and live forever, and it just got longer and longer that we were stuck there. And I think that if my husband had felt like he really wanted to be there, and he was really actively pushing for the idea of staying there, then maybe things would have felt different for me. But he always also felt like it wasn't right, and he didn't really want to be there. It wasn't also his home, and that just made it so much easier for me to feel like, okay, this just isn't the right place for us. Anyway, I hope that clears up for everyone why we left. I'm not trying to hate on Germany at all in this video. I think that Germany is a country with a lot of really, really wonderful aspects, and I feel really, really grateful to have been able to live there for as long as I did. I think that the country gave me a really, really valuable experience, and I got to learn another language and experience a new culture and a new life across the world, and I will always be super grateful for that. But I'm also really grateful that I'm able to then come back to the States and have my life here. All right, I hope that that gave some insight into why I don't live in Germany anymore. And yeah, I guess that's it for this video. If you ever want to see what's going on in our life in the States, then you can always find me on Instagram, because I post a little bit more often there. And yeah, hopefully I will be able to upload another video soon if the schedule with my baby allows it. So yeah, keep your eyes open for a new video from me, maybe contrasting the States and Germany a little bit, but we'll see what I come up with. All right, that's it for me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!